Thanks for joining this Bad to Better podcast session by BADideas.fund. So awesome to have the chance to pick your brain on angel investing. Before I throw questions at you, I wanted to give a quick intro on your background. So you're a founding partner at Specialist VC, which is a 50 million fund, and you've backed over 45 teams. You've been an early investor in Bolt, in Veriff, in Monese, in CoModule, Starship, NFTPort, to name just a few. And you're essentially one of the most prominent VCs in the region. You're voted #1 startup investor by Estonian tech founders. And you've not only investor, but you are an entrepreneur and operator with having 15 plus experience both in building companies and scaling them as well as investing. And I've been fortunate to have you on my cap table for my first startup. But before you became a VC, you were very active angel investor. Let's go back to that period. Tell me about how did you start?
Yes, actually, I think it was around like 12, 13 years ago, and how it started was that at this time I had got started. I had good experience in business development of and sales of tech companies, and I sometimes attended different hackathons and different developer events, and I saw that there were teams at this time that actually were really good technically, but did not really know how to make a good idea into a business. And then I during this garage events and hackathons, I started to help such companies, and then at the same time I also saw that I helped them actually to build these good ideas into a company, just for as a small mission. But then I also saw that they almost always also needed some initial capital. And at this time, it was a different time, definitely, as compared to now, because Skype was already around, but there were not really there were very few angel investors around. In Estonia, also, Smart Cap had just started the state sponsored kind of a VC fund. But the condition for them to invest always was that they need to have a private investment as well. And then me and my business partner Rivo, we actually took together and started to invest into these teams that we had helped and that we saw that had good potential. And that's how we got started. Yeah, I think as part of the first 3 investments that we made, actually we got really interesting outcomes. What I think one of the first 3 we I think made almost at the same time. One was Monese, which is a good company going on well, like a C round stage. Another one was actually one which went bankrupt. And the third one was Vital Fields, which made an exit to Monsanto, I think 3 years later. So really, we saw all different kinds of outcomes already very early on, and I think it was definitely interesting lesson for us to actually see, because at this time almost all the investments we made, they were of course pre-seed. Very early pre-seed investments, and then we continued and it really turned out well, and then I think 7-8 years later, both me and Rivo, we found that the companies that we had been running previously, they actually were somehow matured, and then we both felt that we maybe wanted to do this investing full time, And we also actually had a number of people who always wanted to co-invest with us because they saw that the investments that we picked generally were doing good. So we started the first fund. And of course with the first fund, and even right now, we actually still want to keep quite a lot of the like angel mindset still, which is that we usually want to invest early with both funds. With the first one and second one, we actually focus mostly on pre-seed and seed investments. Then also we almost always co-invest. So there are funds like in Europe and US and even in our region actually, which often want to kind of take the whole round and have a minimum ownership targets and stuff like this. So we don't have it. So also I think this comes from our angel background, that we always either we invite somebody that we like to join the round, or then we are invited. So we saw that it's more value actually of cooperating, of investing together with someone who actually seems for us to be a really good fit for the company. So that's also maybe something that we have definitely taken from the angel investing times. And maybe also the kind of relatively low bureaucracy that we want to have, both in our own fund and also basically towards the company. So of course, that if you run it as a regulated fund, then you have some more formal requirements as compared to just angel investing alone, where you just invest your own resources. But we still want to keep this on a relatively low level and also decide and go on with all the process quite fast, because that's what we see, that early phase entrepreneurs are often value it highly.
And what was your biggest miss, and how did it change your mindset?
Maybe maybe one of the companies that we actually where we delayed the decision was Pactum, and Estonian companies which does automated negotiations. So there we actually missed the first round, although the entrepreneur was Martin Rand. Actually, he was ex-founder from our own portfolio companies, from Vital Fields. But the initial idea was just so like kind of unclear and wasn't maybe articulated as well as we would have wanted. So we missed it, and then of course later on we wanted to get on board, but there were already other funds that had a minimum requirements and wanted to get the whole rounds, and it was difficult. So maybe we as we sometimes also actually can invest in later phase. Okay, we might we might we might invest again at some point, but of course now it would be already like 100 times higher value as at this time. So maybe what we learned from this definitely was that or we already knew that actually when you have a good conviction, then maybe sometimes, and the company is so early that it's hard to find some hard proof points. Then rather decide quickly and take the deal. And if you start to look for like hard proof points, then they might be difficult to get in such an early phase. And basically, in these cases, you should just trust your feeling and believe in the founders. And if this is strong, then like decide faster on these kind of deals.
So essentially, you're saying you're operating without enough information, and you need to make a decision fast.
Yes, especially if it's like angel round or pre-seed round, then in many cases there isn't much background information that you can collect, especially if of course, you need to do a good due diligence on entrepreneurs if you don't know them in advance. But in these cases, we knew the founders in advance, so we knew they were good guys, and we wanted we knew that we believe the team. But then we took some time actually to kind of start validating market, which really we didn't get. We spent I think few weeks and we didn't get any reasonable information because the market was just not there at this time. There was no such thing as automated negotiations, so it didn't really help us much. Everybody told that it's just like why anybody else is not doing it. So any experts we talked to, they said, okay, if it would have been possible to do it, then somebody would be doing it, which is really the advice that right now we are almost always neglecting. If we see a good company, and if the good, we even right now, actually, even today, we have at our table one company that where if you talk to experts, they will tell that, you know, it's suspiciously, you know, it is the idea is such that you know, if it were possible to do it, somebody would be doing it. But this is the advice now that we are almost always like, it doesn't add any value. We are like neglecting if somebody tells like this, because in very often, actually, if you have a very good company in the early phase, you know, then it's never a good reasoning not to invest. If you just ask that, why is somebody else not doing it? Okay, then this is going to be these guys that do it and get to the get to the world leader position possibly. So yeah, maybe that was something also that we learned, that don't trust this kind of feedback, that this can be completely neglected.
You were exposed very early on to early stage Bolt, early stage Veriff founders. How did they stand out from other companies?
Yes, actually, in Bolt we didn't invest in the very first round. So there we also missed a certain number of X because not investing in the very early round. But yeah, in Veriff really we were the very first investors, and even like helped to solve all the mess that there was there, like with the cap table and everything. But the maybe the kind of one exercise that we and why these two founders actually were quite exceptional was that in many cases you are looking for some kind of, you know, like a typical very good founder is the one that has got experience in the field where he's going to do the company at. So for example, the guy previously has worked at some, you know, I don't know, like good example is like Salv, for example, Estonian like startup, where the guys had previously built up like AML and fraud detection in Skype and Wise. And of course, now when they went to do their own company, which provides fraud detection and AML, anti-money laundering for all the fintechs, it's kind of a, you know, no-brainer that these guys know what they're gonna be doing. But once in a while, maybe it's only like once a year or something, you sometimes have the founder who doesn't have any of these like kind of qualifications, so to say. But so what we do is that. But if for some reason a really young founder sounds convincing to me, then the way I think about this is that if this guy, you know, I'm quite experienced investor, and if for some reason a 20-year-old entrepreneur sounds convincing to me, then there is a better likelihood that the same kind of founder can also now attract, you know, because next 10 people in the company almost always need to be like relatively experienced. Because, you know, if the entrepreneur himself doesn't have any experience, okay, he needs to have somebody who has got experience. And then if he's convincing to me, then also I trust better that he's able to find these next persons, or at least, you know, is able to attract the next persons which are more experienced to join the team, which again increases the likelihood. And that was exactly actually the case especially with Karel, and then with Markus as well. Like Markus, of course, Markus had his older brother joining, who had Skype experience and everything else, but also Karel from Veriff actually in really early managed to attract Tiit Paananen to join as a like CTO, who had run basically Skype's operations, who was head of Skype actually operation in Estonia, and I was really surprised that how come that, you know, 20-year-old guy was able to attract such an experienced guy. It's the same thing that actually worked, that he was due to some unknown reason very convincing, and yeah, so there is also rationale that then he's able, and even if I introduce some more experienced guy to him from my network, I at least have bigger trust that this guy, you know, can convince the more experienced people to join as a first like 10 or 20 employees. So that's, yeah, that's maybe something that maybe we saw when we talk to, and then also another test, of course, is that I try to imagine, which is I try to imagine if he's able to run like 50 or 100 people, which is again like, it's not like any kind of quantitative argument, but you just, when you talk to the person like several times, sometimes even if the founders might be inexperienced and very young, you still see that they have this capability to articulate the vision and pull others also into their vision. And then you see that, okay, I see that this, I kind of trust that even if he has 50 or 100 people, then he can run the company. That's kind of some kind of our observations from these few like very young founders like Markus and Karel were.
So sound like in all of the cases where how you evaluate a deal, you evaluate based on two things, it sounds, on the founder and the team and how big the market is.
Yeah. Basically.
Is that a good sum up? And is there anything else?
Actually, this how big the market is also important point, that we have definitely not invested at some points where we see that it's just like a too niche problem, and then we tell to the founder that we really like you, but just when this company goes down and you start something new, then we'd like to invest. But more or less that's that in the early phase. Of course, if we get to the seed phase, then we already look at more typical stuff, like also other first signs of traction, and if there is like at least two markets where the company is operating, so that we see that the founder is able to do something beyond his own like personal network to whom he is able to sell. But in the very early phases, it's basically kind of size of the market and the team, and of course team is more important, because companies often two pivots. And
how do you what was the best advice you've received when you were starting out angel investing?
One advice was actually really good that I got from Allan Martinson, was that who had actually run his own fund before that. This was Martinson Trigon Venture Partners or something. So, and then he said that, and I see this also actually with other angel investors offers, that when you start, then you feel like basically in a way that, okay, companies come to you, and then you are like important person who like charges what these companies are doing, and then you have a tendency to maybe invest too fast in the beginning. And we see the same, a bit of a fatigue right now also among the like angel communities in our region, which maybe after the Wise went public and Bolt and Pipedrive became big companies, and many quite number of people from these companies actually starting to angel investing, and we're very excited initially, but when you do it on your own, you actually discover that there's, even in the very early phase deals, there's still a lot of stuff you need to do in order to validate the founders and the market, and then at some point, then maybe half a year or 2 years later, you see that the companies that are doing bad in your portfolio, they already start going out and need more money, but the ones which later on will be doing good, they are not yet clear within this like short period. So you will almost all of them at some point like will pull back a bit and tell, okay, now let's wait on how these guys that potentially will be winners, how they will be doing, and then I'll maybe start investing again. So that's maybe one observation I have made, and another, definitely, it wasn't maybe even so much of an advice, but like our own observation was that again, if you start doing it in a way, it's easy to feel in the beginning that yes, companies come to me and I'm the kind of important guy, and then sometimes you might not. What can happen that you will not respond to like properly. If you decide not to invest, you just become silent at some point and just not reply. But we saw that actually even if you, in many cases, like even reasonable rejections, managing the rejections good is equally important. because the same guy, very easily the company in a year's time or 2 years time actually might start doing really well, and then you are the one that wants to get in. And if you are neglected the persons before and just not responses or promised something and not kept your promise, then of course the chances of you being taken are so much slower. And again, the guy's friends might start a new company and they will ask how these guys are. Okay, he even didn't respond to me, and although he promised to give us some kind of feedback within a week or so or 2 weeks, then again he might not come to you. So we also have saw that really, although you are kind of in a power position in some ways, by being the one who gives the money, then actually it's an entrepreneur who is on the driving seat, and you should not be the guy actually who will be like, I don't know, heavily late for the meetings, or just not reply if you have promised or stuff like this. So actually to treat the entrepreneurs with respect and give reasonable like rejections, hopefully with some kind of reasoning at least, if you can. And if you like the company, then actually help them a bit and do some introductions maybe, if you want to stay relevant for them in a year's time.
And this has been my experience with you. You have been, I've had something like 20 Estonian angel investors on my cap table. You are by far the most helpful and supportive, even when shit hits the fan. And also have this very, very humble approach and helpfulness. So I can only attest to that, what you are saying.
Thanks.
What would you... Like, you started full-time angel investing. How about people who want to keep working on the projects they are building, but invest on the side? How can they make this happen?
I think in this case, I think there's two possibilities basically. One is that of course you still can keep doing it on your own, but just invest to these companies where you almost instantly see that you want to invest. But then I think that the two other ways are basically, it's really good that actually like syndicates or consortia like you actually have turned to have happened here, and it's happened everywhere. And I think it's really good that Bad Ideas actually has also implemented now the same concept here, and we are really happy to. We already have made co-investments together with you, and we think it's really like a good way actually for angel investors to be part of somewhat bigger syndicated consortia. But at the same time, if you want in some deals be on the driving seat, then each one of your entrepreneurs actually can be this kind of a lead in certain cases and validate the deal more thoroughly, and so you are not completely out of actually being directly in touch with the company. Another option, of course, is to invest through a fund. But of course, if you want to be active investor on your own, then in funds actually there's maybe less active involvement from your side. So I think it a bit depends on if you still feel that you have got some time left and you sometimes want to go deeper with some deals, then I feel like actually that consortia like or a fund of type of Bad Ideas is a really good option to join it and go on.
Any final advice, tips, or mistakes to avoid for startup builders looking to start angel investing?
I think it really makes sense to do it together with someone. Like sometimes it can be like you can put together maybe 3-4 angels and invest together and basically analyze deal together. It can be the Bad Ideas type of fund actually through which to invest. So I would really recommend maybe not so much to go alone, but go through, because then the learning process also is that just so much faster. It's because very often I see that this angel investing, it's even these people that do it, they usually already have like certain financial capability, so that okay, return is important, but even more important is the kind of learning process that they actually want to talk to interesting entrepreneurs, they want to learn during this process, and if you do it alone, then it's much more difficult, and you don't learn so much. But if you do it together with someone, then you really multiply this experience. So that's really what I believe.
Which sounds like this is the reason why you're doing angel investing and now VC investing. The returns are important, but learning in life is even more.
Yes, of course. If you go more professional, like with a fund, then the more and more it starts to become like a more model-based or like return-oriented activity. But for me, still, it's actually a lot of, even right now, I'm a like basically a founding partner of a fund. This curiosity still is one of the main motivators for me, not only the financial reports. I really, like, sometimes consciously we start to learn like a new segment, like more recently deep tech. We consciously made some first investments there, and now maybe took a bit more active road than we usually do, just to learn and be able to develop ourselves further, and then be able to be a better investor also in more segments than just the ones that we have known so far.
Fantastic. Then that's a wrap. Thanks, Gerri.
Thanks, Raymond.